Hey guys, good morning. I wanted to thank you for tuning into my channel. I wanted to give you guys a video today regarding the day in my life. What is it that I do on a daily basis, how I start my day, how I also wanted to share my story with you guys today. I know that I've been blogging a lot about spiritual awakening and everything, but I haven't shared my story. And I think today is the day to share my story. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of my routine, my morning routine, how I start my day. Yogi tea yesterday at my yoga class. It's really good, guys. This is the tea they give after we do the Kundalini yoga, and these are the spices that are in there and the instructions. This is the first time I'm going to do it. Let me get some black tea. I bought this one. So let's bring. We're gonna bring 4 quarts of water to a boil here.
But it's something you can fall in, all in. Why you always calling? Why you even stressing me? You don't want no problems. I don't need no island me. Nah, I still got fight in me. My fault for coming, but you shouldn't have invited me. Side me, you ain't seen that side of me. Getting so high, you couldn't keep your third eye on me. Indigo, indigo, indigo. Indigo, 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 rock for my indigo, 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 pray for my indigo, 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 indigo.
Hey guys, so I finished up with breakfast and that batch of tea, which is great tea, guys. It's kind of spicy, a little chai. I add some of the almond milk to it to give it a little bit of cream type of look. So now I'm gonna go ahead and sit down with you guys and start talking to you guys about my spiritual journey, perhaps help you with some insight. There are a lot of people out there going through this same spiritual awakening. I've seen many videos with instructions of how to spiritually awake, but there really isn't a way or an instruction manual how to do this. There is really no instructions in the or a book that we can relate with this spiritual journey. So I'll start with mine. I grew up as a Catholic, but never was I spiritual. It's my whole life. All I did was go to church maybe once a year for Easter, but never was I spiritually attuned. I always had interest in, extraterrestrials, in the universe, interested in knowing what else is out there. I never quite fit in with the crowd growing up. I always wanted to be different. I never wanted to be like everyone else. I always wanted to find out more. I was one to always question. Growing up as a teenager, I was very interested in finding out about the end times. That is actually the only part of the Bible that interested me at that time, because it would give me hope of an end and of a new beginning, of transitioning to this era of peace and harmony. So I was always focused on that part of the Bible. However, never did I really research about it. Coming 2012, I started looking more into the extraterrestrial realm. I was interested in the 2012 Mayan calendar, but that's it. I never really got too much into it. Now, coming this January, which was when my journey began, this coming January, what happened to me was I woke up one morning interested in searching up Jesus Christ. What did I do? I went on Google. I Googled what is the best movie of Jesus Christ, and 10 movies populated. The one that called my attention was Jesus Christ of Nazareth of 1970. It was a 6-hour long movie. I watched the movie. It was incredible for me. I felt a great compassion for his story, and I grew close to him regarding that movie. That was the entry key. Once I watched the movie, I became intrigued in reading the Bible, and I hopped on the Bible and read throughout that week. I read Genesis, the story of Jacob, and I read the New Testament. That's all I read of the Bible. But as I read it, it was as if each part of the Bible, each aspect of the Bible was waking up something in me. There was one during the middle of that week. One of the things that happened to me was that I transitioned into the part of the awakening where forgiveness comes along. Yes, that is one, I would say, the most important part of the awakening process: forgiveness. We need to be able to find out what is it that's holding our lives down. And without knowledge of what are the rules of the universe, you can't really imprint them in yourself. And one of the main rules of the universe is we need to love, we need to forgive, we need to lose our ego, we need to lose our pride, and we need to unite as one. We have to be one. And what ties all of these laws together is love. Without love, you can't do any of that. And I say ego is another big part of all of this, because if you have ego, you cannot view everyone as one. You cannot view or unite with everyone because of the ego situation. So with going back to my story, during that time of the week where I encountered forgiveness and I allowed God to enter my life, that's how he opened that chapter for me. I allowed him in, and what happened was he threw me down to my knees. I got thrown down to my knees, and all of a sudden I felt this great gratitude for everything of the world. I felt this great gratitude for the breath I was taking. Everything, I was just grateful for everything. I was grateful for my kids. I was grateful for my husband, for my family, for everything and everyone. And I started crying because I was like, I can't believe it that God has allowed me to breathe this whole time. God has allowed me to proceed, even though I've done all of these numerous things. And all of a sudden, I felt this sense of realization that I was forgiven. I forgave everything in my past. And once I did that, everything changed. The rest of the week was miraculous for me. At the end of that week, during these two big awakenings that I've had, I've ended up in the hospital twice. The first time that I ended up in the hospital was because it's during this week that I'm speaking of right now, was due to me thinking I was dying. I had a panic attack during a phone call with my mom. And after I ended that phone call, I felt that I was dying. And I guess now, coming back to the spiritual awakening part of this, it was actually, yes, I was dying. It was my old self dying, and I was being reborn. That's what happened. So once I started saying I was dying and I threw myself on the floor, my husband got really nervous because my pupils dilated almost to the size of my eyes, my full eye. So that freaked him out, and he called the ambulance on me. When the paramedics came, it was incredible for me. I felt as if I was in two places at the same time. I had ascended to a different dimension while still standing in this third dimensional world. I had entered the fifth dimension. And I can control them both. I was conscious in the third dimension and I was conscious in the fifth dimension, if that makes any sense. I know it's a little confusing. Maybe perhaps if you have any questions regarding the fourth and fifth dimension, you can email me. I'll try to insert something in this video where you can read while I'm speaking to you guys about. I'll try to do that for you, where it'll say a little short regarding the fifth dimension. And this is exactly what happened. I synchronized with everything. I was one with the TV. I was one with whoever I was speaking with. I was speaking in one language, and then I was understanding something else in a different dimension. It's very confusing. I don't know how exactly to explain it, but I'm telling you, it's out of this world. So I ended up going in the ambulance and I went to the hospital. And once I was in the hospital, that's where it got tricky. I started feeling that I was actually trying to raise the consciousness of those entities that were there. And the entities that I rose their consciousness was death, Satan, Mr. President. I know that sounds weird. My stepfather, and God. I actually got all the way to the consciousness of God. The reason why I say that I was raising their consciousness is because when I was in that other realm, I felt as these entities were asking me 3 questions to verify who they were, and perhaps maybe permission. I don't know how to put it exactly into words, but the fact was that I was moving their consciousness into a higher consciousness, if that makes sense. The consciousness that was the most profound was God. When I got to be the consciousness of God, I united with everything. I understood Genesis. He took me on a journey where I can feel exactly what it was to create. He took me to the journey of how it all started, and that was beautiful. I got to experience that. And I'm telling you guys, I would see it playing in the movie. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the link right here so that you can access my blog on my Facebook page, where I wrote a 24-page journal, in-depth details about this actual awakening. That was very profound. Now, the second awakening that I had, this one was interesting. I would say this one, instead of me going all the way to the fifth dimension, it put me in the fourth dimension. Again, I was synchronized with everything and everyone, but this time it was as if I was shortening the time that these entities or these consciousnesses of playing the role of my family, I was actually getting them to the fifth dimension quicker. It was as if I was paying for their time in the fourth dimension. Let me add a little bit more depth into this fourth dimension. For me, the translation of the fourth dimension is hell. The hell the fairy tale we've been fed in the Bible. Well, not in the Bible. Let me not say that. I believe hell is a fairy tale. That is my opinion. Hell is something described in church and everywhere, and I believe they've used it as an excuse have a place to put our enemies, or to have a place to put everything we don't agree with. Whatever we don't accept, we send it to hell. Guess what? I've been there, and it's not nice. And I'll tell you one thing. It's not, for me, it wasn't the fire burning hell. For me, it was a place where I had no access to my family, a place that felt eternal, and a place that I would describe as an airport waiting for a plane to come and pick me up and take me back home. And it was an endless wait where I couldn't come back. I couldn't come back. I felt as if I went through 30 deaths in that place. And I guess I lost about 30 versions of myself. Every time I would die and be reborn, I was either choking, dying. It was every single time, and it was as quickly as closing your eyes and opening them again. And during that opening and closing, it was an eternity. The opening and closing of the eyes was an eternity. In this experience, I got sent to the hospital for a fairly long time. It was about 6 days, and I'll explain. I know that in my first video, I explained to you guys that it's important that these awakenings do not get mistaken for bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, because you know what, folks? To the doctors, that's what it seems like, because we start acting weird. We start lacking sleep, we start loving everyone, and we start actually doing what everybody else is not doing. Getting along, having bliss, having everything. And for them, I guess that's not cool. Or that's not medically possible. So here I am. What happened to me was I was fasting during that week. This happened to me during Holy Week. And during Holy Week, I decided that I wanted to go on a spiritual fast, and I didn't eat anything for 6 days. And on the last 2 days of those 6 days, I didn't drink water. And here's what the problem is. The problem is I have a gastric bypass, and I cannot fast because I already, as we speak, I already malnutrate food. So if I don't eat, that's like negative malnutrition. So I can't do that. So what happened is I due to the dehydration, I started getting fast heartbeat, and I went into panic, and my husband had to take me into the hospital. He had given me an antipsychotic medicine that they gave him as an emergency for the first time that I ended up in the hospital. And I took that, and then apart from that, they gave me Cyprexa in the hospital at the same time as that. So by the time the doctors came to ask me what was going on, I didn't even remember my name. I had gone delirious already. And to be quite honest with you, because of that, they sent me, due to the first experience I had, the second time, now they sent me to the hospital. So to another hospital, by the way, yes, mental hospital. So during my stay in the mental hospital, that was something. The doctors were what I felt as a lab rat, because they couldn't explain how it was possible that even with all the medication that I had drank, how I still remembered exactly the details that what I was going through. I'm gonna try to write a journal regarding this whole experience in details, because there's so many details that we would be talking in this video for about 3 hours. So I'm not gonna do that to you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and write a journal regarding this last experience, and I'll post it on my blog so you guys can read it. Now, the conclusion of this last spiritual awakening is I ended up in the hospital. I'm not taking medication because they suspended the medication, because they found out that they cannot diagnose me with bipolar disorder because I have control of it. And you can develop bipolar disorder between the ages of 16 and 30. I'm 32, so there's no way, and I had no mental issues from before. So all of a sudden I woke up like this? No, that doesn't happen. So they've decided to say that they don't have a scientific explanation as to why I'm going through what I'm going through, which is great. So that means I'm pure spiritual. That's great. But I still have to be careful, folks. I'm not gonna fast anymore, that's for sure. Won't ever do that again. I can't, and I don't need to, because through meditation I can access the source without having to go in the fasting. I've gotten to that point already. So I want to thank you guys today for listening to my journey, for watching my video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I am going to write the journal like I told you I would about this second experience. I'm going to journal the whole thing detail by detail, because there are some fantastic details in there regarding my hospital stay. I know there's a lot of you out there that are going through the spiritual awakening process and you don't know what to do, or you may feel lost. And I want you to know that I am here for anyone that may have any questions, or anyone that may need help with this. I also would love for you guys to help me, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of you out there that have gone way further than I have, and it will be great to hear your advice, to hear anything that you would like to share with me. Please comment, subscribe to my channel. I will be adding a lot more videos going forward. I'll make them a little shorter. This one was a little long because I wanted to share with you guys my journey. Now, again, please comment below, add some questions. I will reply to you as quickly as possible. And again, thank you and namaste. Have a great weekend.